time we talk about Bruno. Project 2025 is bad, but Stephen Miller is worse. Stephen Miller, for those of you who don't know, is something out of the Darth Vader school of existence. He worked in the Trump administration as an advisor and has said, and folks have said, he's guaranteed a place in any new Trump administration. Stephen Miller will have more impact to negatively influence America than all of Project 2025. So let's talk about Bruno, aka Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller currently runs something called American First Legal. And what American First Legal has been doing over the last 4 years is going around suing to get Black and other people of color, as well as women, out of their jobs. So they claim they're doing it to fight discrimination against white men. But let's talk about a couple of things they have sued on. First of all, they filed a complaint with the EEOC, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, against NASCAR, saying that NASCAR was discriminating against white men because they have a program to bring more people of color into pit crew. Let me tell you how many people of color, Black people, are in pit crew. I think it's 5, a couple of years ago, 4 or 5, out of 60 plus or more people. So it may even be more than that. I mean, the number is ridiculous. It's like less than 2% of people of color, and I think a few of those are Black. So what I hear America Legal First saying is all jobs should be white jobs, right? Back to white jobs. All jobs should be white jobs. He's also sued Northwestern Pritzker School of Law, saying that they're discriminating against white men hiring unqualified people of color. Now, first of all, there's no indication that people of color they hired are unqualified. His assumption is all white people are more qualified than all Black people or all other people of color. That's really his basic assumption. And let me tell you these numbers, because I do have these numbers. Northwestern Law School has 17% of its staff are people of color, and of that, a much smaller percentage are Black people. Only 8% of the people of color are tenure track out of the entire law school faculty. So what Stephen Miller and people like him are saying is that all jobs of consequence should be white jobs, that all Black and people of color are unqualified, not as qualified as white people. And Stephen Miller has promised, when Trump is restored, to take the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission and turn it into a Whites' Rights Commission. This would basically put us back at the end of Reconstruction. For those of you who don't know, there was a period of time after slavery called Reconstruction where Black people were thriving, they were getting ahead, they were in Congress, they had jobs, they lived in integrated communities, and then Jim Crow came about. So what Stephen Miller is saying is that if Trump gets back in office, and he will have a place in that administration, he is going to turn the EEOC into a whites' right institution. There are so many Black and other people of color who will find themselves removed from their jobs, unable to file complaints. People will be able to say any kind of thing they want to you at work under their supposed freedom of speech. This is not to say we don't have freedom of speech. It's to say that in the workplace, you cannot say derogatory things. You cannot fire women for being pregnant. You cannot harass and make fun of people. If he gets a hold of the EEOC, those protections go away. We need to talk about Bruno. We need to talk about Stephen Miller. He is even more dangerous than Project 2025.
Welcome to another episode of Seen and Heard podcast, and my lovely co-host, civil rights activist, and chair member, chair member, Miss Kenneth. Hello.
Hi. Hello, how are you? Thank you so much for having me. It's always an honor and a pleasure to share this podcast with you. Hope you're all doing well today.
And what were your thoughts on the other side of that? Explaining one of the missions of Project 25, especially in light of Black men and POC, Latinos, all vying to vote for Trump.
So, at the risk of having someone toss rotten eggs and raw tomatoes at me, I'm going to say everyone has the right to vote for whomever they choose. That's one of the beauties of being in this country. You get to have that freedom of opportunity, be it speech or whatever, all else. So Trump has not been on the down low, but Biden has not been on the down low either. So let me give you a couple of examples. Throughout the federal government, as I understand it, they have pulled back on DEI plus J, the diversity, equity, and inclusion plus justice. They pulled it back and they renamed it something else, and it no longer basically exists. Even though when Biden came into office, he created this equity mandate that, we're going to have equity. 4 years later, there is no equity, and if there's no equity, there can never be equality. So In 2020, Trump issued an executive order. Here we are trying to get an executive order to stand up a reparations commission. Trump created an executive order to do something called Schedule F. It did not go through, but his intent was anybody perceived as not being loyal to him and to the party would be stripped of their civil service statute, their status. All of this is marching in line with Trump's plans. So I'm not shocked at the intent of if he gets in office for EEOC. And personally, I don't think they do a whole lot right now for anybody anyway. The last thing I want to say is Joe Biden announced a couple of weeks ago that the United States will not seek a seat in the UN's Human Rights Council. They're not going to seek a seat. They will not seek another seat until 2028 for 2029. So what does that say about this country? What does that say about Joe Biden? And what does that say about a commitment to human rights? So again, I'm not going to say a whole lot about this whole EEOC protections going away, but here we have a seated president who's not just not going to seek a seat on the UN Human Rights Council for the upcoming term. He's not going to seek a seat for the future terms. So here we are, the greatest country in the world, and we're not going to be sitting on the UN Human Rights Council.
Well,
one is bad as the other to me.
The United States and Germany are the only two countries that voted that water or food wasn't a human right. Like, they were the only two countries that voted to say that water and food was not a human right. Like, that's baffling to me. And on that, there was an article that was just released today about the quiet part out loud with Obama bringing the Harris issues with black men to the forefront, because I guess last week there was some chatter about how President Obama addressed some black men before one of his rallies. And what were your thoughts on that?
My thoughts are, again, we all think we have the protection of the Declaration of Independence, Constitution, all of those articles that we say are for our protection. So if black men decide that they want to cross over and vote for Donald Trump, I'm not going to say I'm happy for them to do it, but I know people, more than one, more than two, more than three people who in the last election that Donald Trump won the presidency, black women who voted for Donald Trump. So how do we get to chastise? You can maybe express remorse, but I don't think that anybody has the right to chastise adults. These are adults. And if they want to vote for Donald Trump, then as my nana would say, you make your bed hard, you got to lay in that bed. So if it ends up that Donald Trump becomes president, then I don't think we should then say Donald Trump became president because black men sold us out. It's not that black men sold us out. In the last time Donald Trump was elected, 57% of all white women who voted in that election voted for Donald Trump. And I don't trust them. They be out here talking about abortion rights and this and that and other. And yet we standing with Madam Vice President Harris and get in that voting booth and sell her down the river. So as far as I'm concerned, I feel really sad that the ex-president of these here United States felt obligated to step into his role as Granddaddy Obama and chastise everybody for something that may not even be true.
And I actually glad you brought that up, because the way I see it, regardless, like you said, everybody has the right to vote for who they want to, but I think they're trying to kind of set it up just in case, that Mango Mussolini wins. They're trying to set it up as a fall guy, and they're trying to use the black men as the fall guy for the community. And it's just like what you said, but the numbers don't add up.
Add up.
It's only what if they voted for him, there would only be like 10% or something
about that.
So
they can't carry him.
Yeah,
They
they can't
carry
get
them.
him over. But it looks like a setup. It looks like a setup.
It is a setup because we are not going to go down saying that, again, no disrespect to anyone. We're not going to want to go down saying that whatever the campaign platform is that Madam Vice President is using is part of the reason why it did not get her the support she needed. For example, real quick, what are they giving us in the campaign? Abortion rights. Well, I'm 76 years old. I don't need no abortion rights. I don't know about anybody else. Hey, look, if I need some abortion rights, I don't need anybody because I'm going to be wealthy, filthy, McNasty wealthy. So you're giving me abortion rights. What do I need abortion rights for? The next thing they're giving me is Israel's right to defend itself. I don't have a problem with that, but you're not talking about the other side. What about the fact that this reeks of genocide? This is a pathway to genocide. Those 100,000+ people who've been injured in Palestine, the 41,000 who've been killed, they didn't have anything to do with this. And this didn't just start on October 7th. Israel has been chomping at the bit to get all that land since 19, you said it, 1947, 1933, whenever. So let's don't say, I'm going to move in a direction so that I can tell the 11 million, little 11 million people in Israel, we fixed it. Now you're going after Israel, you're going after
Iraq.
Iran, you're going after Iraq. Why? Because what do you want? To get all the land that the eye can see and kill up everybody? You still only got 11 million. Your population is still only 11 million. What, everybody going to have 50,000 acres of land? This is ridiculous. So I don't see what the Democrats are giving other than, indeed, this is the first time in all my years, I would have to say this is the first time we are in a situation where voting is going to come down to the lesser of the evils.
Mhm. And Merrick Garland is worthless. So, because speaking of Merrick Garland, I, what's his name? Elon Musk. He is breaking laws just right out in the open. He is bribing people with $1 million. I mean, campaign finance laws. You're legally
Hey,
not allowed.
girlfriend. Hey, girlfriend. That $1 million is looking very attractive. It's calling at me. I've been thinking about it. So while we're talking about him breaking all the laws, I want an MOU signed in his blood that if I do this, I want my $1 million on its way. I want a picture of the check. I don't even want no check. Just put it in the bank. Just let me know when it makes it to the bank. When it makes it
Direct
to
deposit.
direct deposit, I'll sign your petition, Blow.
And Miss Kiddes, we love you. She's joking. Mind y'all, look, my face is kind of swollen. So if I'm like puffy mouth and you can't understand, there'll be captions on the screen. But I had two teeth pulled a few days ago. So tooth over here, tooth over here. So I kind of sound a little mush mouth. But
Yeah,
that
I bet
that
you ain't the only one thinking like that. That $1 million looking right attractive.
but back to the issue of breaking the law. That speaking of breaking the law, let's hear what Mike Johnson said, where he was trying to gaslight. He was gaslighting, or Jake Tapper. Finally, Jake Tapper took it upon himself to kind of hold Mike Johnson to the fire. So let's listen to what he has to say and talk on the other side of this.
No worries.
Donald Trump repeatedly referred to prominent Democrats and others on the left in the United States, American citizens, as, quote, the enemy from within, unquote. And he suggested as president he would want to use the National Guard or military against them. Let me play some of that for our viewers.
The bigger problem are the people from within. We have some very bad people. We have some sick people, radical left lunatics. And I think they're the big, and it should be very easily handled by, if necessary, by National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military. Because they can't let that happen.
One of the first things you did when you joined Congress was to create the Honor and Civility Caucus. Does wanting to use the military against political opponents, would that pass muster with the Civility Caucus?
That's not Jake, you know that's not what he's talking about there. What he's talking about is marauding gangs of dangerous, violent people who are destroying public property
He talked about Adam
and
Schiff
threatening
and Pelosi's.
other American
He's
citizens.
not talking. I mean, Governor Youngkin tried this with me too. That's not. He was very clear. Let me play, because he was asked about this later on, because Fox always likes to give Donald Trump an opportunity to clean it up, and he always says, no, I said what I meant. Here's what he said when asked about it the next day.
It is the enemy from within, and they're very dangerous. They're Marxists and communists and fascists, and they're sick. I use a guy like Adam Schiff because they made up the Russia hoax. It took 2 years to solve the problem. Absolutely nothing was done wrong, et cetera, et cetera. They're dangerous for our country. We have China, we have Russia, we have all these countries. If you have a smart president, they can all be handled. The more difficult are, the Pelosi's, these people, they're so sick and they're so evil.
That's what he's talking about, using the U.S. military against, not marauding gangs of Venezuelan.
Wait a minute.
Adam Schiff, Nancy Pelosi's husband, Paul. So let me just say, if a Democratic presidential candidate said that you and your wife were evil and that the military should be used against you, I would say that's disgusting.
Well, thank you. And some have said that about us because they don't like my politics. I did not hear President Trump in that clip say he's going to sic the military on Adam Schiff. That's not what he's saying. You got two different clips in two different contexts. What President Trump is talking about is that they have been attacking and maligning him from the day he came down that golden escalator. Everybody knows that's true. In 2015, 2016, that's when this began. He's been the most attacked, maligned political figure in U.S. history. They tried to kill him twice in the last few months. This is real, and he feels that acutely. And Jake, you would too. If you were under attack like he is all the time, every day. I mean Iran, who has assassination attempts out against him.
But that's not
crazy, dangerous people
Adam
in the
Schiff
country who
and Nancy
get on
Pelosi are not
rooftops
trying
and
to
take shots.
assassinate Donald Trump. I mean, there's this conflation of anybody.
They're not, Jake. They're not. But the political attacks have been relentless, and they have been baseless, and they made up the Russian collusion hoax, and they went after him and have been going after him ever since. They tried to impeach him twice. I mean, they've done real damage in the American psyche. What I'm talking about is the political attacks that are so over the top. Kamala Harris has used language saying he's so dangerous to the country. I mean, I've had colleagues in the House say he must be eliminated. He must be extinguished.
He's literally talking about
this stuff is over the top.
You know, against Democrats. I mean, he's literally talking.
No, he's not.
Yes,
no, he's not, Jake. No, he's not. No, he's talking about using the National Guard and the military to keep the peace in our streets. In the summer of 2020, that my Democrat colleagues call the summer of love, it was crazy. It was mayhem, and Democratic progressive mayors and governors allowed it to go on, including Tim Walz, who allowed Minneapolis to burn, and it's still not rebuilt. Look, Trump is talking about restoring law and order, and I'm telling you, you can mock it. People in the media can mock it, but that resonates with the American people. They are sick of being afraid on the streets of their cities. Donald Trump can bring order back to the chaos. They know that. So they're willing to give a little on his, social media posts and some fun language he uses at
He called
rallies.
January 6th a day of love. He said that the January 6th criminals, the prisoners who violently attacked your place of work, he compared them to the victims of Japanese internment camps. And that guy is in favor of law and order?
Yes, President Trump had and kept law and order. When he says at the campaign rallies that we didn't have hot wars around the globe during his administration. No, look, he's right. Russia did not invade Ukraine under his watch. Israel was not attacked viciously by Iran and its proxies because they were afraid to do so under that commander-in-chief, under President Trump. They're not afraid right now. Our allies are nervous. Our enemies are empowered because they see an opportunity. The only person that they fear less, our enemies abroad, the only person they fear less than Joe Biden is Kamala Harris. At the end of the day, when you go into the ballot box, I would just encourage everybody, ask yourself quietly, are you comfortable with Kamala Harris being the commander-in-chief of the U.S. Armed Forces at the most dangerous moment since World War II? She could not handle that. Our enemies would have an opportunity there, and people think about those things, and that's why they're going to vote for Donald Trump.
It's like
that's
you
why
were
he's going to win and be reelected president.
Answering questions from a completely different interviewer, but Speaker Johnson, I appreciate
To be clear, the people that took pop shots at Trump were Republicans. The people that took pop shots at Trump were Republicans, to be clear. And then as for law and order, 34 times a felon, S8 assaulter of women. I mean, the gaslighting was just like peak cosmic on steroids right there. Like, I'm surprised. Jake Tapper, I kind of wish that was Lawrence. Lawrence of MSNBC, he would have cut dude off. He would have cut Mike Johnson off.
Well, first of all, Mike is not a good debater. That's first and foremost. He's all over the place, just like you said. Sounds like, we're talking about two different interviews. That's first and foremost. you have Republicans who are ride or die, blood brother zealots. They don't care what you do. They're going to defend you anyway. And Mike is going to defend Donald Trump regardless. Now, while I was looking at that, I was actually looking for these marauding street gangs. And everything I found in that quick Google search, everything that pops up, it is immigrant street gangs. And it talks about in New York is just overrun with marauding street gangs of immigrants. Is that true? I don't know. I was in New York a couple of weeks ago. I didn't see it. I'm not saying it's not there. I'm saying I didn't see it. So to me, this is
Propaganda.
propaganda, but it's also, what do I want to say? Like it's like the message, the subliminal message. It's a subliminal message for, we're gonna get rid of all the immigrants, whether you're here legally or not legally. We ain't gonna, it's like shoot first and ask questions. We're gonna get rid of you. And if you say you're here legally, we're gonna say we don't know, you're gone anyway. So even in Google, marauding street gangs, it talks specifically about New York City and the immigration issues in New York City. And isn't that where Trump Tower is?
Yes, and Trump is from Queens. That's where my late husband was from, Queens. And he couldn't stand Trump. And I couldn't stand him since the 80s either.
So Trump is cleaning up that area again for the good old boys, his cronies. It's a subliminal message to them. It has nothing to do with Miss Annie down the street who lives in Nebraska and is afraid to go outside. It doesn't have anything to do with being concerned about her safety.
And I was in New York last year in July visiting my friend with the other co-host, Chrissy, and there were no marauders out there. There was a lot of people in the street, but it wasn't marauding and stuff like that. Like, I walked when she went to work. I walked from her house around the corner to the store, and nobody mauled me or drugged me in the corner and robbed me or anything like that. So,
it's just a subliminal message for the good old boys. That's all.
Well, we're going to close out on this end for now, because we were going to do another part this week. We'll do another podcast this week, but I wanted to close out on someone taking the black jobs. He's trying to take black jobs.
What?
He's trying to take the black jobs. Remember, he's talking about they're coming for your jobs, the black jobs. Well, look at Mr. Clown today. Let's take a good look at him.
Implication of that. But what is the logic behind this? Going to a McDonald's? I mean, we know the guy likes Big Macs and filet of fish, and he's used the word love to describe the way he feels about the food there before. But what's this about? An implication of that. But what is the logic behind this?
So, Donald Trump.
He hates that Kamala worked at McDonald's.
Donald Trump, you're right. That's exactly it. Number one. Number two, she did something he has not done. That's number two. Number three, Donald Trump probably has nightmares that the food he loves more than anything else has been touched by some black hands or some immigrant hands or some brown hands out there, that the Big Mac that he eats and the French fries that he noshes on and that sugar laced Coke that he drinks has been prepared by some black hands, some brown hands, or some immigrant hands. And he needs to go in there and inspect to make sure that it ain't nobody working in there but some good white people. And looking at his backside, I know how many Big Macs and French fries he eats. He eats them morning, noon, night, and all in between.
That's all he eats. And on that note, if you would love to subscribe, like to help us and support us in our programming, and for us to give you more quality programming, please consider a donation. We will greatly appreciate it. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. and that helps us with the algorithm. And we will like to thank you for joining us on this episode, and we will be getting out another episode this week. Thank you, Miss Kiddes.
Thank you. Thank
And
you.
what I was trying to say earlier was member of Cobra. So I had a little mush mouth because my teeth were
Oh,
closed.
don't worry. I am the national co-chair for the National Coalition of Blacks for Reparations in America. And indeed, just want to quickly say, we got to get on board and sing the same song so we can get these reparations by any means necessary. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And please donate. I will put up our links for you to follow to our fundraiser. We're having still in the fundraiser for the end of the year. And we will see you guys on the next one. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. So can I say something to you off air?
Yes.
Okay. So it is my goal next year, because I have to pay my property tax now.